Hello everybody and welcome back, where we're talking some PSVR2 news. From new games being passed through QA, to brand new updates to fix your favourite games, there's a lot to talk about here, so let's waste no time. After you've subbed to the channel, as only 25% of you actually are, and we thank our patrons and members for keeping the channel going day after day and week after week. With that being said, let's get into it. First and foremost, we had the flat screen launch of FNAF Secret of the Mimic the other day. Most of the reviews call it a pretty fun horror adventure, with some fun gameplay and great visuals, but some FNAF fans have had some issues with the lore from what I hear. I'm not really too deep into the series, I don't know the problems with it, but for a horror adventure for us PSVR2 users, it's going to be a good one, I think. And it's confirmed the PSVR2 port is still on the way for later, hopefully this year. We kind of knew that it wasn't cancelled because they showed off the game for the first time in VR. It would be a very weird decision to then backtrack and take that away. However, it makes sense that they wanted to focus on the flat screen launch and then do the VR launch later and make sure that it's polished. So I'm looking forward to that. If the biggest problem is the lore in the overall framework of the franchise, I think for a casual fan like myself and for people who don't know the series, it's just going to be a good, fun horror adventure. So I'm looking forward to that. Adventure puzzler Firmament has also passed certification now. This is Cyan World's game that you're seeing on screen right now, and it looks absolutely stunning. It's mainly the worlds here that I'm looking forward to seeing in VR, and they've been trying to get it past certification for quite a while now. Apparently they're planning to reveal their release date next week, and they're distributing codes to Kickstarter backers and reviewers first. I haven't heard anything from Cyan Worlds. If you're watching this, please feel free to send one my way. This game looks amazing, and I'd love to cover it on the channel. I believe it's been out on the flat screen for a bit on Steam. Some people criticize that the puzzles aren't too varied, but I think in VR the main thing here will be looking at the environment. So I do hope this one is very sharp because it deserves to be seen in the best possible light. If they can get it running without reprojection, that would just be unreal, but we don't really know any specs, I don't think, in terms of how this is going to run on PSVR2, whether it's with the base PS5 or PS5 Pro, so we'll have to wait and see. But it looks like we won't be waiting too long for that. We got a bit more news about Roboquest VR. This is the Flat2 VR port of the highly praised roguelite with full co-op and tons of weapons, and the weapons are exactly what they talk about in this Road to VR article about the game. So the founder of Flat2 VR essentially was saying that one of the challenges / opportunities actually of working on a game like this is that there's simply so much to adapt in terms of making it feel like a made for VR game, and one of those were the 50 weapons in the game. What they've done is they've VRified all of them, giving them all manual reloads, which is music to my ears, and making sure they work properly and feel like they were never a flat screen weapon in the first place, which is fantastic. I'm really excited for this one. I don't think we have a release date just yet, but to be honest, I'm fine waiting for flat to VR ports because they've been nothing but fantastic so far. Their track record is spotless with Out of Sight and Trombone Champ being the two ones that I've played, and if they keep up that with Roboquest, I think it's going to be an absolute banger, especially with co-op. Speaking of an absolute banger, the Midnight Walk came out earlier this year and I absolutely loved it, but there were some issues with it, mainly with the visual side of things. Now, a patch has just dropped yesterday and I did praise it quite quickly yesterday, but there are a few issues there that you might want to be aware of, and we're unsure whether they're actually going to be fixed. Now, one of them is the frame rate. They've beefed up the visuals and the game looks stunning now, but the frame rate has taken a hit. I think on PS5 Pro it runs close to 60, reprojected to 120, so it runs pretty well, but on base PS5 it is a bit of a rough experience. In some busier scenes, I just wouldn't recommend using smooth turning because it can make you feel a little bit motion sick if you're affected by that sort of thing, and it is a bit of a shame to see that they have beefed up the visuals, but it has hurt performance in that way. That is actually okay though. I found that it was still playable and I would still kind of recommend it if you can get over those frame rate issues. Similar with Vertigo 2, but lesser so here because with Vertigo 2, the frame rate issues there hurt the game more because it's more fast paced, you're jumping around and shooting a lot, but with the Midnight Walk, it's slower paced and you can kind of get over it. The other issue though that I didn't actually run into yesterday, but I want to make you aware of now, is that apparently two-handing weapons and some controller tracking for single-handed stuff gets a little bit funny. It's a bit weird. There are some issues with shooting the weapon that you get in the game, which is this sort of cannon that you pull back and release. Some people are reporting it just doesn't work, and I've tried this myself, and it's a little bit finicky to do, and your tracking kind of goes all wobbly and all over the place, and I don't know what's causing this, and I really hope they put out a hotfix for the game. But we're not sure if they will, because they said that they've moved on to their next game, which I'm excited for still. Moonhood have proven themselves to be a very talented studio, but I do wish they just put out a hotfix to at least fix the controller tracking and potentially do something with the frame rate, but I feel like that would take a lot more work. But I just hope they do fix those tracking issues. and get it up to where it should be, because that genuinely can make the game unplayable at times. So apologies for kind of jumping on yesterday and saying that the frame rate was the only issue. I just didn't play enough to see that there were some tracking issues later down the line with two-handed weapons. Speaking of updates though, Wanderer of the Fragments of Fate has also got a brand new update. This is patch 1. We've been waiting on this one. It was delayed a couple of days, but it came out yesterday, including a new vault system for your weapons and items, a new save system update, new height calibration and avatar calibration, improved controls, improved combat, weaponry balancing, minigame balancing, performance improvements, major crash fixes and bug fixes, combat NPC and AI improvements, audio and music improvements, lighting and VFX improvements, and there's a whole massive 14-page document about everything the game has fixed. It does hold some spoilers for the story, so I would not recommend reading it if you haven't finished the game yet, but if you're stuck in a bit of the story and you can't progress due to a bug, if you hop in, you might find that that's been fixed. I still think I'm going to wait for the second patch at least to drop before I play through the game and review it, because I want to kind of review it in the way that it should be played, if that makes sense. I don't want to jump in and make something that's going to be outdated in a couple of months. I want to wait till it's done and review it for the game that it is. And finally, we got the news that Titan Isles is coming to PSVR2. This is by the Windlands developers and looks very similar to Windlands. It's essentially a game where you swing around and take on bosses with a bunch of friends in co-op. I really enjoyed Windlands, so I'm happy that this is finally being announced for PSVR2, and I think it's coming in 2026 once the main ports are done to Quest and PCVR. And make no mistake, you guys made this happen. You made your voices heard that you wanted it on PSVR2, and now it's on the way. So well done, everyone. Anyway, that'll be all for today. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you all in the next video.